All right. Thank you, everybody, for watching Eastern Volleyball Network. My name's Graham Wren. We've got Kevin Knight with us. And then our special guest for us today, we have Rob Wingert, former Stevenson men's volleyball setting extraordinaire and standout, current head coach of Misericordia, very well-known Rumble announcer, and then in his spare time, he likes long walks on the beach. So Robert, how you doing, dude?
I'm doing well, Graham. Number one, you nailed the pronunciation. Misericordia. A lot of people stumble up on all 12 letters of that. And really appreciate you guys having me. The Pottstown Rumble is one of my favorite events every year, and I'm super stoked to talk about some of the top contenders, some of the dark horses, and some of the names that a lot of your viewers might not know from the world of grass volleyball above the Mason-Dixon line.
Yeah, so we really love that we've got your attention and got you on here, because I think that people out west have probably heard of this tournament just because of how big it is, but there's going to be a ton of people that play in this and do well in this that just people are kind of scratching their heads about. So I'm really excited to jump into this list. But before we do that, if at all possible, could you give us kind of the history of the event, where it's played? I don't know, some previous moments that stand out to you, because I mean, I've never been. I don't know if Graham has either, but like we want to know what it's like just as much as everybody else.
If you've never been and you love volleyball, it's got to be on your volleyball bucket list. The Rumble's going into year 29. It's been going on for the last 31 years. Last year canceled due to the pandemic. And I want to say in the mid-90s, they lost a year to a flood that came through Memorial Park. But it's played in Pottstown, Pennsylvania, suburb of Philly. One of the biggest, if not the biggest, grass tournament in the country in terms of nets, participants, and they've grown to a point where they have to run 3 or 4 different fields to actually host all of it. Yeah, it's intense. But I think the coolest part of it is it's completely run by volunteers from the Pottstown Parks and Rec Department. Ken Cause and Seth Cause are kind of the grandfather and father of the tournament. Those guys do a great job, and it truly is a players tournament. I mean, just the environment all weekend long, it's a volleyball party. The second you get knocked out at Men's Open, there's someone waiting for you with a cold beverage cracked, a koozie for that, and a nice towel to wipe yourself down to get reffed. And then just the center court setup, if you've never seen it, it's truly incredible. You could have 1,000, 1,500 people packed around. They have production in terms of live stream on local cable, now partnering with the AVP that's obviously going to Facebook and a couple other places. It's a TriCast. They have 3 cameras, and overall just an awesome event to be a part of. This is going to be my 9th year there, my 5th year on the microphone, and there's a reason people keep coming back for 20 plus years, and it's just a great environment.
Yeah, man. This tournament's been running almost as long as like Adam Roberts has been on the AVP.
Some might say longer. Some might say longer.
No, it's the amount of people that you see on this list. I mean, like the reason I brought him up is because he played on the AVP with a guy named Andre Belov, and I bet that's a name that you're going to bring up on this list, because Andre Belov is still playing Pottstown Rumble, even though you haven't seen him on AVP events in a long time.
He was in the semifinals of the first year I was there back in 2013. He was partnered with Dana Camacho when Dana used to make the trip up every year. If there's nothing else, Pottstown is full of personality every single year, and obviously big jumpsters with guys like Belov. But it's tough to stop coming back once you've been here one time.
Yeah, that sounds like an absolute riot. So appreciate the rundown, man. I definitely got to make it up to that one. So I don't know. Do you want to jump into the names, or is there any other anecdotes that you want to go over? Or it's a 2-day event, right?
So it's actually a 3-day event. Friday used to be reserved for masters and juniors. But with the rise in popularity of triples outside of the Midwest, it's now moved to 3 days. And this year, there's a really exciting format. They've moved Women's Open to Friday and Saturday. So Women's Open kind of has their own day on Friday. And then Saturday, we can really highlight their playoffs while men's open is still working through pool play, triples is really big this year. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar, but the boys from Out of System, Joe and Gage Worsley, are coming out east with Mike and Ma'a for a triples team. And we're really excited to see them in person balling out after what they did at Wapaka last year. And there's a couple big East Coast names that'll be in the triples event as well. So I'm really looking forward to an electric triples final tomorrow. And then Saturday and Sunday, you've got your traditional doubles. Men's open, like I said, pool play on Saturday, playoffs on Sunday. And then Sunday, you've got your co-ed and quads events at the Rumble as well.
Nice. Hell yeah, man. Those guys have got a booming YouTube channel as well. They're doing a phenomenal job with all the interviews that they do. And I bet they're going to be filming like crazy out at Pottstown. So that's going to be really cool to see.
I'm super excited. Like we said, big personalities always. Excited to get some of those personalities on center court tomorrow because between me and Pinto, my partner in the booth, we like to have a lot of fun with the guys on center court. That's for sure.
All right, nice. All right, so let's jump into the top 10.
Yeah, so the top 10, there's gonna be some names that your West Coast viewers are familiar with. You know, you got Cody Caldwell and Chase Frischman teamed up. They're the number 1 overall seed. I'm gonna use that loosely because Pottstown seeds a little bit differently. Those guys will be serious contenders. The Baumgren brothers, awesome to see them back together. And we know they've got experience with grass, which is normally an undoing for a lot of the West Coast guys. So seeing them out here will be great. The first semi-East Coast team that you kind of see is Chris Vaughn and John Ferrari. Chris spends a lot of time on the beach. He's lucky to be able to traverse the country and makes a lot of sacrifices to do so. But he's someone who's generally had some disappointing finishes at Pottstown, to be 100% honest. He's kind of cycled through some different partners every year. But knowing the level that his partner John Ferrari is at, I'm super stoked to see hopefully Chris make a deep run, because anyone who knows Chris knows he is nothing if not charismatic. We might see him busting out the harmonica on center court as a warm-up, maybe a quick wrestling match, tossing the football around. Big personalities like that are always fun to have succeeding. I'll kind of stop there, Kevin. I'm sure you've crossed paths with some of those guys on the beach, or are they a little too far west for your taste?
No, yeah. I actually ended up reffing one of Cody Caldwell's matches in New Orleans, and there were a couple calls that were controversial that maybe I should have made, but and so we went back and forth a bit, and it got a little testy, and then afterwards he was like the nicest guy in the world, and we kind of BS'd a little bit, but what an absolute phenom. He's a 6'6" outside hitter. A former outside hitter from Southern California, played some overseas ball, and now he's he is making the transition over in the beach. He's kind of in between like a blocker and a defender, which is interesting for a guy that's so big. But he's played defender behind some real big guys, and he's definitely played a lot of blocker as well. So he's going to be an absolute freak of nature on the big court. I imagine Chase Frischman, his guy, is going to do real well as well. Longtime AVP defender, so I'm sure a lot of people recognize that name. Ferrari and Vaughn, that's going to be probably one of the loudest. Like, those guys are both awesome guys. I hung out with Ferrari a little bit. He played with Dentler at New Orleans, and it's just going to be so much noise coming from that court. Two guys that know how to run motion offense, both have great ball control, and can't wait to see those guys and tear it up with some kind of crazy offenses. Friend and Joyner. Kyle Friend is a West Coast guy. Joyner's originally from Virginia Beach, and I'd like to bring in Graham here to see if he's got any comments on that team.
Yeah, no, I think they'll be a strong contender as well. I mean, Joyner's been putting in a lot of work. He's just around the game constantly now. Through his work with Bitter at Beach and constantly getting to play with a lot of high-level players out there. He's originally called Virginia Beach his home area, well known for being a strong competitor on the beach on East Coast events for the duration of his stay here. So I'm excited to see what they can do as well.
So the next two teams I'd like to go over, because you're going to know these guys super well because they were in the finals, I think, of your last event. Dentler and Donahue versus Ian Cap and Nate Miller. And Ian Cap and Nate Miller might be what some might term like one of the very few like true like professional grass teams, even though there's not technically a professional tour yet. But they almost strictly stick to grass, and they're dominant in most of the events they play.
Yeah, those guys are absolutely electric. I don't think we should gloss over Dentler and Donahue. Those guys are your reigning champs.
Yep.
Kind of East meets West, even though Dentler's from PA originally, Pottstown's own, some might say, even though he's from the Cumberland Valley area, but moved out West, training beach full time. And Shane Donahue, if you haven't heard of him, and I kid you not, world's best 6-foot blocker. I mean, he jumps well, great technique, great timing. Even a couple years ago, him and Bill Kalinsky are matched up, and Kalinsky feels like he's got the advantage physically at the net, and Shane made big play after big play. And one of the biggest advantages those guys have, being that East meets West, is they really understand the grass. You're talking about the big court.
Yep.
The importance of jump serving. I mean, for your viewers who've checked out the grass stuff you guys put up, a lot of what the AVP does grass-wise has turned into rally scoring to mirror the beach in some short court. Pottstown will not be like that. It is big court, old school rules, side out. I've had years where I finish pool play at 10 p.m. on Saturday night. It is an absolute grind. So the ability for Dentler and Donahue to split block and not lose much and both be able to attack from the service line is huge. And then you talk about Ian Kapp and Nate Miller. Definitely probably the most well-renowned guys on the grass that you can think of, because like you said, they stick mostly to the grass and they have a lot of success. 2 huge serves. I memean, absolutely bombing serves. I'm lucky enough. I have Ian actually coming into my gym as an assistant next year. So I'm lucky. We've got a big serve to train against, and Nate's the same way. Ian might not look as physical as Nate does because Nate looks like he was cut from marble, but Ian's got every physical tool. He's a good jumper. He's got a big arm, huge volleyball IQ, and you will not find a more courageous hand-setting team at this tournament. Those guys will huck balls to each other, 35 feet, back set, across the court, coming out of a hurricane, and it's clean almost every time. So those guys haven't played together for 3 years, really have good chemistry, and just play with a lot of confidence about them. They knocked off Dentler and Donahue last weekend at the pre-Rumble, 52-team men's open tournament hosted by East Coast Volleyball. So those guys are definitely going to want their names in the hat when you're looking at late on Sunday.
Yeah, you could see either one in the semis or finals or even winning the whole thing. I think those two got to be way up there in the favorites list. But another team that I think you got to watch out for, because you may not have heard these names, but Maxwell Martin and Caleb Queckel. Caleb Queckel's an 18-year-old that regularly trains with Phil Dahlhauser down in Florida at Phil's facility. He's kind of not been dubbed, but I think a couple people are starting to dub him as like the next big thing because he's about 6'4", incredibly calm, put together. For 18 years old, he acts like he's been playing for 20 years and he's not been alive for 20 years. And a very, very gifted athlete, phenomenal hand setter as well. And he's playing with the big guy, Maxwell Martin, who's got to be all 6'7", 6'8". And he's the one that with Tomas Goldsmith ended up going all the way to the finals of Wapaka and knocks off 3 AVP main draw level teams. So Max is obviously phenomenal in his own right. So Queckel and Max Martin, I bet will split block. And I think that they're my dark horse team to be in that semifinal. Not a lock, but definitely a really, really strong team in that tournament.
I'm glad you kind of mentioned the split blocking piece, because I don't think your viewers who haven't been at a tournament like Pottstown kind of understand how important that is. If you have a solo blocker going all day Saturday and then all day Sunday, and they're using a big serve on the jump court or a big jump serve on the grass court, it's a long weekend. I would garner to bet that there's more pickle juice consumed at Memorial Park over this weekend than maybe the rest of the year combined. So being able to have a partner that you're comfortable with sending to the net to block, through pool play and maybe a round or two of playoffs is a huge thing. So it's great to hear that we've got some teams coming from non-traditional areas that'll be competitive towards the end of the tournament.
Oh yeah. So next one down that I see that I want you to cover, because you've obviously had a much bigger experience with them, be the team of Cameron Beans and Garrett Dim.
Cam and G, man, you want to talk about a fiery, electric tandem of volleyball players. Cam and Gier, I believe it was 2018 when they won Pottstown. And if you want to talk about a perfect cocktail of energy and jump serving late into the night, it was what those two brought. I mean, they probably spent more time picking up net systems that they tore down, whether it was from a missed serve or just straight frustration, than any group who's ever won Pottstown before. But at the end of the day, they were the ones leaving with the big check. As you'd say in Happy Gilmore, you got to get it to the big check bank. And it worked for them. And they will bring the exact same strategy this weekend of just intense ball. They're going to chat with you the whole time. Some of it you'll love to hear. Most of it you won't. And you're going to be dealing with big jump serves from those guys from start to finish. One group that you skipped over that I think will be big-time contenders, Dave Evans and Cal Fisher. Two Pittsburgh guys, Dave via Stevens Tech, National Player of the Year in 2015. Cal is a rising senior at Penn State. If you've never seen Cal play before, I think he might be, a potential defender, AVP tour level player. Top-notch ball control. He's actually played Penn State at libero at Penn State. They use him in serve receive as a right side from time to time, and he's got to be a low to mid 40s jumper with an absolute whip of the left arm. Him and Dave get after it from the service line nonstop. Cal's got a huge jump serve. I think he led the nation in aces this past year for indoor. And those guys, Dave just plays so technical, so few mistakes. And Cal is only in his second summer playing outdoor volleyball.
I bet they've been practicing a bunch too.
Yeah, his first men's open tournament made it to the finals, the second one they won. So those guys come east and they do really well. I've seen it firsthand. Never happy to see Fisher Evans on your pool net, I'll tell you that much. But those guys, I think, with the right hot streak of jump serving and a really strong side out game, I think those guys can be a deep dark horse runner on Sunday as well.
All right, Graham, how about a team of Brett Rosenmeyer and Willie Rodriguez?
Yeah, man. Love to see them pairing up. They've got a lot going for them, I think. They kind of fit Rob's mold of a split blocking team. Both are coming in at 6'5". Brett Rosenmeyer, former O2 for the University of Hawaii, now lives in Virginia Beach and plays primarily beach, but the ball control is still strong as ever and has a heavy arm. Will Rodriguez, originally from, I believe, the Augusta, Georgia area, and then made the move down to Florida this past year and has been training a ton with LT and that group of ballers down there in Florida. Was a really strong player beforehand and has just seen his game progress, in the past year and a half or so. So as far as longevity, the absolute grind that Pottstown can be, I think that they fit that mold. And being able to attack from the service line, both of them having a pretty large net presence, will generate a lot of points, be able to side out a lot of balls, and in my mind, they're a dark horse to make a semifinal.
Make all the way to semi. That's a big call for them because they can be a little bit up and down heady at times. But all right, that's your dark horse. That's cool with me.
There's a big payout too. Those guys would be excited. Semifinals. Yeah. This is a $35,000 cash prize tournament for these guys. Semifinal run it gets pretty intense towards the end of the day.
You love to hear it. I'm going to talk about two teams that are right in that same area, that 14, 15, 16, 17. My guy, TJ Yurko, I made a really deep run all the way to the finals at Myrtle Beach Open, beating some good teams with him. I know he's absolutely incredible. He's even better on the grass, I've heard, than he is on the beach. I've never seen him on the grass, but 6'2", 6'3", monster arm swing. I don't know the guy he's playing with, so I'm not going to call anything about that team, but I wanted to give him a shout out because I've heard he's an unbelievable grass player himself. And then Nick Drucker and Liam Maxwell are two guys from our North Carolina, Virginia region. And, obviously they're going to split block, but I think it's legitimately kind of like the guys, David Evans and Cal Fisher. It's essentially two 6-foot guys. Liam might be 6'2", but Drucker's all of about 6 foot, 6'1". And then just going to bring heat from the line. It's a similar mold to Beans and Dim. It's a similar mold to Cal and Dave Evans. It's one of those teams that I see I see them as like an upset contender where they're going to get their crack at a top dog. And, if one of them catches fire, I think that at least Drucker, in my experience, can hit the ball as hard as anybody I've ever seen. And then Mark Funichari and Nolan Albright. Nolan's my partner this year for most of the events. He's got a cannon himself, but he does an amazing job with his wrist of carving the ball really wherever he wants it, which is going to be even more effective on a big court. He's like the all-time leading everything at Belmont Abbey, and coaches there as head coach now. And then Mark's been a long-time Pottstown guy. I'm sure you know him even better than I do. And I'm not calling it, but I hope somehow he ends up like reffing the semis or finals, because I think he has for like the last 2 decades or something like that. But mean lefty, and the two of them are going to be John, and the two of them are going to be bombing serves. I don't know if they got the legs to last all the way into the final, but even if they don't, they're going to have a blast. And I somehow want to see Mark blowing a whistle on center court, because I'll tell you what, I bet Mark, from the amount of tournaments he's played, has ref more matches than any of the main draw refs out there. He plays like 30 tournaments a year.
I saw a clip of Nolan. I think it was out in Nebraska for the VLA event where he nearly decapitated someone. Yeah. I would say Mark's got to be ready to see a lot of serves if that swing of Nolan got around, because I can tell you what, you might see people underhand on the right side of that court to keep the ball away from Nolan after a swing like that.
Oh yeah. You wanna take over Belov and Lucas? Talk about a big server.
Yeah, those guys are honestly, they've become Pottstown staples for guys like me. Eric Lucas was in the finals of the first ever Pottstown I was at with Aaron Russell outside for the national. They lost to Hudson and Mark, who are up there as Pottstown's all-time winningest players. But I remember being like, oh my God, there's a 19-year-old kid playing here on center court. And Eric at the time, I mean, he was built like a bodybuilder. I mean, it was like, it must have been Ryan Charterina's dream of what to look like. That guy was absolutely yoked. And then Belov, when you've got a guy who's got the fastest recorded serve in the history of the FIVB on your net at Pottstown, and you're 19 making the jump to open for the first time, you're thinking, man, what the hell did I sign myself up for? So same kind of idea. I'm not sure if those guys have the legs these days to make as deep of a run, but certainly someone who could pull an upset early in playoffs, or maybe steal a 1 seed from pool play if they have a good Saturday.
All right.
Right in that same range, there are 2 quick teams I want to jump on from Pennsylvania. The first one, Logan Hunsberger and Travis Moyer. I doubt either of you guys have heard of any of these players. 2 classic PA grass guys, both Messiah grads. Travis was there for the entire club period. Logan had 3 years of club and 1 year varsity. And these guys they should honestly market themselves as professional servers. You will look and say, there's no way that ball's hitting the line. And then it catches that blade of grass, and that line makes a little hop. And all of a sudden you're down 1-0, and they're not going to be in your face. They're not going to be celebrating. They just go talk with each other about, hey, let's put another good one in. And then you think he can't do it again. And then he does. And all of a sudden, 10 tagged lines later, you're down 2-10, and you're thinking, what in the hell have we gotten ourselves into? They actually won the first ECV event this year. They made a run into the finals of the second, and then Travis was at a wedding this past weekend, so Logan had to find a different partner. So that's the only reason they kind of weren't in the results from the pre-Rumble. Okay. And then the other one, 2 other guys who are staples of the semifinals, Chad Nolan, Christian Hartnett, 2 more PA grass guys, both with families, do all their training on their own time. Chad actually, I'm pretty sure he runs a chicken farm in Lebanon, and I've played in the backyard tournament at his house, and you just want to talk about a model of consistency. I've never seen him do anything but bump set, and I've never seen him make a bad one. A lot like Donahue, a great undersized blocker, really does a good job of reading attackers, making late jumps, always good technique, but can't be jumping more than 25, 26 inches these days, but always is just in the right spot. And his partner, Kristen, I wish you guys were there because I would do one of those carnival games where you have to guess his age, because no matter what, you're going to undershoot it by 10 years. The guy is just a model of physical fitness, super consistent, and really, really is just always making a heady volleyball play. And you'll watch warm-ups and you'll see the two guys on the other side, like a Nate Miller getting ready to jump over the net, hitting the ball over the top of the bracket, and Chad and Kristen are popping their lines, hitting their shots, taking their swings out when they need to, but just consistently making plays that help them win matches.
So talk about a landmine team down to 39 is the one and only Angel Dace and Mike Mikolau, and I know they made a deep run. So you got any anecdotes from seeing them play last time?
So back in 2019, we had these two high-flying guys that almost no one from Pennsylvania knew, and they were just getting win after win. And Mikolau was playing in a black throwback 76ers Iverson jersey. And Graham, I'm not sure the PG rating of this channel, so I want to get a quick check before I go to the rest of it. Go for it. He had an outline of a dick on his shorts that was from his European club team, and their team name is Team Dad Dick. And when they hit a big serve, they flop out the dad dick, and they did a lot of big serves. So Mike picked up the nickname of White Iverson all weekend long. And honestly, like in the booth, you're not supposed to be rooting for anyone, but their semifinal against Baranek and Kalinsky was maybe the most electric match I've ever called. Just all energy, all big serves. Eric and Bill can be a little chattery. Mike certainly wasn't backing down. And it's a shame those guys are seated so low because, like you said, they're going to get a 1, I'm sure, from the Pottstown committee. But man, if you're the 2 on their net, you're not thrilled about it.
They're coming in hot. And I know that Mark reffed that match too because he's talked about it. Hey, Graham, what about down at 56? 56, you got Charterina and Spellman.
Man, you want to talk about a team that is there and going to have a lot of fun regardless of the outcome. There are two guys that have a ton of ball control, just ball control, for days. Going to pass well. Both of them hand set incredibly well. They're going to play a lot of really strong ball. I don't know if Charterina will split block at all of 5'5", but I suspect Shane might have a long day in for him. Both will be back to the line hitting jumpers. Both have hands of gold. Definitely will give. I think that they'll give a lot of teams in their pool a run for their money, and they're definitely not an easy out. But I think by the end of the day on Sunday, there might be 2 of the loudest hecklers there for sure.
I know you guys have never been to Pottstown, but you know that there is a model blow up of Ryan on center court, right? it is the Charterina blow up. He made a huge run 2 years ago. Him and John Edens got a third, fourth, and affectionately known as a muscle hamster. Charterina is constantly a fan favorite, both while he's playing and maybe even more so once he's in the stands with a couple White Claws in his system, because that's when the fun really starts with Ryan.
Gotcha. All right. I know Matt Clayton's lower on this list because I don't think he's got any points. But I know for a fact that guy's played some incredible ball. He was on the NBL for a number of years. I don't know the guy he's playing with this year, but he can get pretty loud himself, I think, with that whole group.
One group that we skipped over that I want to touch on, Kevin, I think you'll be familiar with one of the names on the list, is Josh Bigford and Spencer Wickens. So Josh is an indoor outside at St. John Fisher. He's a 2-time All-American now, one of the most well-rounded players in Division III. And for those of you who don't know Spencer Wickens, he is an absolutely electric 5'10". Yes, no 5'10", starting outside for Pepperdine University. He was a second-team All-American this year, hit nearly 400 plus. And if you want to talk about just volleyball IQ off the charts, Spence is your guy. So Spencer probably going to see a lot of serves, but can certainly put him away. I know Bigford's got a set of mittens on him, so he'll be tossing cheddar to him. So that's a team that you're just going to need to pop some lines, because I think they're going to be really, really difficult to beat in transition. Spencer was playing with Jack Bicker a couple years ago and had a huge win over the number 1 seed at the time in playoffs. So I think Spencer and Josh are a little bit of a deeper cut, but definitely some guys who can make some noise
All
deep in the
right.
tournament.
All right. Josh. I love playing with Josh. He's super consistent, super calm, never got rattled. And is another guy that like plays beyond his years. He seems like he's been playing forever, but he's real young and he's real smooth. I can't wait to see what they're gonna do this weekend. Graham, you got anybody else?
I think my list is about dry. So if you got anybody else that y'all want to talk about, go for it.
I've got two more I can hit on real quick, unless Kevin, you want to jump in with anyone.
No, I was gonna say if you got anybody else, PA or otherwise, shout them out.
So this one, this isn't a homer pick, but it's going to sound like that. One of my best friends, my assistant who just graduated here, Landon Shorts and his partner, Bradley Schneider. Landon is the NCAA's all-time leader in service aces across all divisions. Back in 2019, they were the only team to beat Dentler Donahue. They beat him in pool play, but they did take a set. And Landon has an absolutely electric jump serve, great ball control. His partner, Bradley, was on a 2019 New Paltz team that won the national title. A lot of ball control there. So if those guys can both get going from the service line and find some chemistry playing together for the first time, I think they could be maybe not a semifinal, but could be knocking around in the Sweet 16 quarterfinals. Ryan McGinley and Nate Ocasio, two older names, both Juniata alums from back in the day, big grass guys. Just a really unique team with a lot of power. Might not, be the most eye-popping when you see them lining up across from you, but certainly can make a lot of plays throughout the day. They had a third, fourth at ECV last weekend, so really rounding into good shape. And if you want to talk about landmine teams, we're lucky that Pottstown doesn't seed based on numbers only. But you've got Peter Russell and David Lucas coming in with 0 points. Peter, starting outside at Penn State back in the day. David, brother of Eric, who we mentioned earlier, and Peter, brother of Aaron, I should say, David was a libero at George Mason. Those guys have been in quarterfinals, semifinals of grass events all over the East Coast. Haven't been on the tour as much lately, but having those guys in as on a 0 point seed, they'll hopefully be seeded as a 2 or 3, but they're definitely not someone you want to see lower on your pool sheet if you're looking on Saturday morning. It could be a tough matchup for you.
So then I guess I'll close this out on the team list with two kind of teams I would call wild cards, not because of the way they play, but because they're so beachy. I don't know how much. I mean, I'm sure they played some grass, but almost all of us have. But so Chris Austin and Earl Schultz are the current 6th seed. I think they won or came in second in San Antonio. AVP Next, Gold, really, really good team together out training on Hermosa Beach all the time. Very good jumpers, very technically sound. Both of them can jump serve, so I'm sure that's what they'll be doing. Although I think Earl is probably going to go up to block. He's about 6'5" and jumps like a fiend, big afro. I think that they could be really, really deep in this tournament, but I just have no idea if they played much grass at all. But obviously they've got they've cut their chops on the beach, so they're going to be good volleyball players. And then in a similar line, but maybe they haven't made it nearly as far as the other two. But down at the 17 seed, Alex Storm and Charlie Van Rees are two Midwest guys from Michigan. Storm jumps, crazy high, lefty hammer. Kind of reminds me a little bit of the way Evan Corey plays, where he just kind of jumps up and just crushes the ball wherever the blocker's not. I think he's got good shots as well when he needs to hit them. And Van Rees is a sneaky good defender at 6'7" and can also get the blocking job done. So they'll definitely be split blocking. And it's another team where I'm like, I've seen them in the finals of some great beach events. And so I'm sure they're going to be solid on the grass too, but I'm not going to call them going anywhere because I just don't know. I don't know how they're going to work on the grass, but definitely good volleyball players, both of those teams.
If nothing else, I think Earl might be an early favorite for Pottstown's new bounce house contest on Friday night. I think they took the idea from New Orleans, but okay. I'm a little terrified to see some of these guys in the grass because the way they're moving on the beach, you add another 6 or 8 inches. I think we might have Ian out there dishing out some butter for these guys for the bounce house. We might be fixing some craters on center court before Saturday morning or the triples finals on Friday night.
All right, so let's finish this off with we're each going to pick 2 teams, but we can't pick the same teams to make finals. I'll throw it over to Graham for the first two. Who are you taking? And they don't need to both be in the finals, but either one making a final. Who are your favorites?
All right. Well, I'm gonna pick Angel and his guy because I got to stick with somebody from our region. So I'm gonna go ahead and grab Angel before you can. And then for my second team, I'm gonna go ahead and go with. I'll go with Ian Cap and Nate Miller.
That's two strong picks that you've seen play, so that makes sense. I'll take it next because I know that our third member has a lot of insight that we don't. So he's got an unfair advantage. I'm gonna go Max Martin and Caleb Queckel. I'm high on them. I don't have any reason other than I've seen them both play individually and both placed incredibly well at big tournaments. So I think they're going to work super well together. Max is